May mga nag-viral na video patungkol sa free food grocery in Canada for international students as they say. Pero ito ba ay tamang gawin? At dahil dito, maraming nakatira sa Canada na hindi maganda ang reaksyon. For today's video, ang ating topic ay patungkol sa controversial free grocery sa mga food banks. Marami ang nag-content na nito, paano makakuha at yung iba pinakita gaano karami ang nakuha nila by hopping to multiple food banks in their city. At pag-uusapan din natin ano ang mga reaksyon ng mga Canadians or mga matatagal nang nakatira sa Canada sa nangyayaring pagkaubos ng supply sa mga food banks.
This here, How to Get Free Items in Canada by Niman Kapil. Free grocery, mattress, and blanket for international students in Canada by a one Naina Kukreja. How to Get Free Food in Canada for international students. Food hamper by a Samarjeet Singh. How to Get Free Food in Canada. Food bank details. International student with family. Well, it would appear as though these international students studying here in Canada have found a little trick up their sleeve. Instead of paying for food like the rest of us, they can save money while studying in Canada and go to the food bank to get food for free. Well, for them it's free, but of course, food at a food bank is not free. That food has been donated by Canadians.
Kind of overwhelmed by how many groups were showing up day after day. Then that's when the board had to sit down and make a decision and say, we can't do this.
Bridget Martin is a volunteer, but also a client of the North York Harvest Food Bank. 15 years ago, she was injured on the job. Her benefits were eventually cut off, and food banks saved her.
My income was not enough. My rent was far too high. And still with the food bank and still without the food bank, I could not have survived that time.
Toronto has seen a 51% increase in food bank visits, the highest ever. More than 2.5 million visits so far this year, and that number is expected to exceed 3 million visits by the end of 2023. Another difference, many food bank clients today have jobs, but earn too little to keep up with the rising cost of food and housing.
It's unacceptable that 1 in 4 food bank clients spend 100% of their income on housing, leaving nothing for food, clothing, or transportation.
More than 4,750 food banks and community organizations ang nagtutulungan para sa kanilang mission or vision where no one goes hungry. And I could say na in Canada, this program ay very intentional. Talagang marami po ang natutulungan. Hindi po mahirap ang mag-access sa mga food banks. They don't judge you and happily na tutulong sila sa'yo. I remember nung unang mga buwan namin at nakilala namin ang aming kapitbahay na mga Pinoy, na-mention nila kaagad ang food banks na pwede daw kaming pumunta doon and kumuha ng mga free grocery. Pero ayun po, hindi na po namin sinubukan na pumunta ng mga food banks dahil sa personally okay naman kami. And hindi na namin talaga naiisip na mag-a-access pa kami ng mga free food sa mga food banks. Na-encounter ko ang isang comment na ito and sabi niya na not that anyone cares but going to the food banks is an essential part of my survival. It's been this way for me for the last 10 years. Since I've become disabled and can't work a full-time job, I would literally starve to death if it was not for food banks. I'm a single, disabled father struggling to feed my child and myself. I absolutely need these things, unlike a lot of people who totally take advantage and can actually afford food. I cannot afford food. I buy groceries when I get my disability check. But I can't afford much, so I get the rest from my local food bank. And sa mga community group ay marami din po talaga akong na-encounter na mga nagtatanong about sa food banks dahil sa unexpected things na nangyari sa kanilang income or employment. And ayun, ini-encourage sila ng mga Canadians or yung mga matatagal nang nakatira dito na bumisita sa food banks at happily makakatulong po ang mga food banks sa kanila. So guys, may mga tao talaga dito, mga naninirahan dito na dumidepende rin po from time to time sa food banks. At meron din naman na talagang regular customer na since naging ganun yung situation nila. Katulad ng unang storya natin, naging disabled siya. And that is the truth na kahit po na matagal nang nakatira dito sa Canada, ay may mga regular clients na po ang mga food banks. So ano nga ba ang eligibility criteria for accessing a food bank sa Canada? So ito po depende sa mga policies ng mga individual food banks and organization. But generally, ang mga sinusuportahan po nito ay ang mga individuals or families na nahaharap sa mga financial difficulties. And kasama na po dito ang mga unemployment, health crisis, or other challenges na nagkakaroon ng impact sa kanilang ability to afford food. And dito po generously in-encourage ang mga ganyang individuals na pumunta sa mga food banks para matulungan sila. And last year lang, ang mga food banks across Canada ay umabot na sa 2 million visits sa loob lang ng isang buwan. And then this YouTube post na nagsasuggest na ang mga food banks can provide regular supply of free food. And marami na ang nagsunod-sunod na mga contents about sa free food grocery sa Canada para sa mga international students. And isa na tong YouTube channel na nag-viral sa kanyang mga free food. So, they are group of students. Bumibisita sila sa iba't ibang mga food banks. Kaya nakakolekt sila ng ganitong karaming pagkain or free food grocery. Napakarami nito guys. They say nasa worth 500 grocery na po ito. $500 grocery. And napakarami. Merong itlog, napakaraming kamatis, ang dami nito guys. And it's not really a good thing na mag-ikot-ikot sa mga food banks, magkolekta ng mga pagkain because na-highlight yung need versus greed. May mga totoong tao na nakatira po dito na dapat natin ding i-consider at talagang may mga cases dito, real situation na kailangan din nila at regular clients din sila ng mga food banks. I believe dati na merong pangilan-ngilan ng mga students na bumibisita ng mga food banks pero hindi sila naha-highlight, hindi sila nagiging controversial dahil sa siguro kumukuha lang sila ng kailangan nila. Pero ngayon, it's a different story. Nag-hoard sila ng more than enough sa kanilang mga needs and I could say na they totally don't know the idea or how the food bank works here in Canada. And isa pa na issue na pinupukol sa mga students pagka pupunta sila sa mga food banks, nasa requirement ng immigration na dapat ay meron kang cost of living requirement at existing ang funds mo para nga matulungan ka sa settlement period mo dito sa Canada. So, sa madaling salita, they are saying na hindi ka dapat entitled as a student kasi dapat pumunta ka sa Canada to study and you have the funds to support yourself for at least a year. Kaya naman ang daming mga vloggers din na Canada-based at nagbibigay ng kanilang opinion and they are totally not happy sa mga nangyayaring hoarding.
What's this here? How to Get Free Items in Canada by Niman Kapil. Free grocery, mattress, and blanket for international students in Canada by a one Naina Kukreja. How to Get Free Food in Canada for international students. Food hamper by a Samarjeet Singh. How to Get Free Food in Canada. Food bank details. International student with family. International students studying here in Canada have found a little trick up their sleeve. Instead of paying for food like the rest of us, they can save money while studying in Canada and go to the food bank to get food for free. Well, for them it's free, but of course, food at a food bank is not free. That food has been donated by Canadians doing something positive for their communities. And like I said in the intro, this Twitter post has gone viral on the platform Over 400,000 views, thousands of interactions. The comments are astoundingly negative. They're shocked about this, as I was. In fact, I had no idea that international students could be this shameless so as to promote what is essentially, in my view, theft. To steal food from people who actually need it, not international students.
This is no international students. These are people who came over who are, set to have their own expenses, have the ability to pay their way here in Canada while they come here as students to study in our universities. Now they're sharing on YouTube and social media how you can go and collect free food from the food banks. And this is the main crux of the story. Some people are hard up, and it's difficult for people when they first come over. Perhaps they may need to take advantage of these charities, and that's fine, but we're talking about people who ought not to be digging into this. Now, the fact checks on this tweet, of course, people coming in with their fact checks. Under the current immigration rules, international students, as depicted in the videos, can only work up to 20 hours a week. But this is negating the fact that while immigrants are people who are coming over as international students, they're full-time students. They should be able to pay for their tuition and pay for their lodging and food costs. But no, instead they're taking care of these things on the goodwill of Canadians. And this is where goodwill starts to run dry, when people start to see videos like this surface, and in the title of the video, how to get free food in Canada, international student living in Canada, $500 worth of food items. And this is just this is supposed to be for, of course, poor and underprivileged families, people that are having a hard time struggling.
And because of this ay maraming food banks, may mga specific na food banks sa Ontario na hindi na nag-e-entertain ng mga international students sa food banks.
Kind of overwhelmed by how many groups were showing up day after day. Then that's when the board had to sit down and make a decision and say, we can't do this.
As demand rises, this food bank says it had to make choices. Situated in Brampton, a city with many international students, started turning them away, citing the federal government's own rules.
To be eligible to study in Canada, you must prove that you have the funding to support yourself. If they're going to multiple food banks and they're hitting up the churches, this is now a matter of abuse.
Something needs to change because they're seeing an influx of international students too.
On a weekly basis, we have 150 kids. It is challenging, it is growing, and it is growing at a pace we need to really look into that.
It's really gonna be chaotic kung ang mga international students ay pupunta po ng walang funds. So guys, this is not to discourage, but it will really help you to settle in Canada. Mahirap po na talagang self-confidence lang tayo na pupunta tayo na walang pondo. Ngayon po, lalo na sa panahon ngayon, ay mahal na po ang mga bilihin, mahal na ang renta. Napakahirap po na iaasa natin yung idea na meron namang future income, meron namang trabaho na pwede kong pagkuhanan in the future pag nasa Canada na ako. Personally, I don't encourage that idea dahil po sa panahon ngayon, iba na talaga ang panahon ngayon. Marami po ang mga nakatira dito na paycheck to paycheck at may mga big numbers in reliance sa food banks dito dahil po mahirap ang buhay. Tumaas na ang mga bilihin, ang mga grocery items at higit sa lahat, ang mahal-mahal na ng renta. So this is something to think about your plan in moving to Canada para po maging successful. Proof of funds nowadays is really a must. Hindi po ito show money na nakadisplay lang sa mga bank account. Totoo po na gagastos tayo dito pagdating pa lang, pag-invest or pagbili ng mga winter clothing dahil cold country ito, ang pagbabayad ng renta na big amount din dahil sa manggagaling na pesos ang pera natin, hindi pa galing ito sa mga sweldo ng Canada. So, meron talagang paglalabas ng pera sa pagdating pa lang po dito, and parang bagong kasal na may mga gamit pa kayong bibilhin sa bahay. Yung naalala ko, yung na-spend namin sa tulugan, kumot, unan, nasa $500 po dahil mahal din ang mga gamit-gamit dito katulad lang ng punda ng unan. $14 na po iyon sa Walmart, 2 pieces lang. So may mga nagawa na rin akong video sa mga tipid tips kung ano yung mga magandang dalhin para sa una pa lang makatipid na kayo. Please watch this video and especially yung aming playlist sa Preparation to Canada Life ay maganda po na mabigyan nyo ng oras na mapanood po ninyo. So as a newcomer dati, ayun, na-share ko po yung mga money tips or mga tipid tips na nakatulong sa amin and yung iba naman ay mga lesson na nakuha namin along the way. And we are happy na ma-share po sa inyo, especially sa mga papunta rito sa Canada. Anyway guys, sa mga bagong viewers po ng aming channel, please consider subscribing. We feature videos about student process, work permit, visitors visa application, PR, immigration topics, and life here in Canada. Kung nagustuhan po ninyong ating video, please give me a thumbs up. Talagang malaking tulong po ito sa aming channel. So ayun lang guys, take care. I'll see you on my next video. Bye for now.
I don't know what I'm meant to feel anymore. I take it out on my girls and I smash that door.